Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Tanveer Syed, Blind Man Reviews, and welcome to part two of A Blind Man at Live Events. As I mentioned in my previous video, this video will be exclusive to this channel, so please be sure to hit like, subscribe, and that bell notification buttons, as all that support really helps this legally blind YouTuber remain motivated to continue making a lot of different type of videos on this channel and also the main channel, the Bengal Dragon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the first event I'm going to talk about is TNA Slammiversary 2016, the pay per view that happened in Universal Studios in Universal Orlando. Now, this was a memorable day and not in a good way, actually, in a very bad way, because this happened, I think, the day after the Pulse nightclub incident. So, security was understandably much more beefed up. And as usual, I had my ticket with me and I printed that ticket. Now, the venue wasn't that far actually. Um, it was about 70 odd miles away from where I live, and my brother drove me there as well. It was also Ramadan at that time, and actually within Universal Studios, because the Universal theme park is actually a very large area, and within that area, it was a bit difficult to find, but I did manage to find it with the help of others, and also I paid for the VIP ticket, people. I paid $129, so I was not going to miss out on this. And also, this was back when I used to, at least to some capacity, follow pro wrestling and even review it on my Bengal Dragon channel. And this is when the broken Matt Hardy thing first started. And just to digress a little bit, right now I can't stand pro wrestling. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things are happening in WWE, with the tribal chief stuff and whatnot. And AEW, some good stuff are going on as well. TNA are collaborating constantly with NXT and whatnot. So yeah, I've been hearing stuff, but I can't watch it. I tried, like I turned it off after like maybe two episodes. I'm like, I can't do this, people. It's because overall, yes, I respect pro wrestlers as entertainers and as athletes, but as an entertainment product, the product itself is unbelievably stale and repetitive. And it's nothing that I haven't seen before several times. In fact, the last great thing that I cherished was the broken Matt Hardy incident and the broken Matt Hardy gimmick. And I honestly thought that was the direction pro wrestling needed to go. But right now, I am so burned out. Like, even some of the AEW broken Matt Hardy stuff, it can't hook me back. I tried to come back, but there was not enough of broken Matt Hardy. Like, he was just there talking in his broken gimmick and just promoting other wrestlers instead of promoting the broken universe. I'm like, nah, I can't do this, man. Now, if the broken Matt Hardy stuff returns to peak form, maybe we can talk about it later. But back in 2016, I always wanted to attend at least one wrestling event as a fan. I mean, I have attended a wrestling event as a performer, as an in ring performer. I had a dark match, like if people must know. Okay. And at that time, my finisher was a T Bone suplex. So I'm like, obviously, if I ever get back in the ring right now, I have a different finisher. But as a wrestling fan, I've never attended an event, and I always wanted to attend one, especially a TNA one.
This can't be happening.
And if you must know, at that time, the soundstage showing one was next to the Blue Man Group booth or something like that. And I remember the wait was a little bit long, but I let the attendants know that I was legally blind with a VIP ticket. So the attendants pretty much took care of me as much as possible. And when I finally got into the building, I was placed in the ADA section. Apparently, there's a separate ADA section. Now, this section is like, let's say you're walking down the entrance ramp, right? It is to the right. It is essentially underneath the hard camera, where the entrance ramp on your screen is to your left. So I was standing in the ADA section. I was standing in one corner. And if you want to see where I am, pick out any match. You're going to see a guy standing up with a folded blind cane in his hand wearing an EC3 shirt. That was me. Also, as it was Ramadan, I knew what time I could break my fast. I think it was around 8 something. So I took a small bag of Lay's chips and a small bottle of water so that I could break my fast. One of my first bad experiences was when some senior citizens who were also seated in the ADA section, they kept asking me to move because I was blocking their view. And what I perceived is that most of the people in the ADA section were actually senior citizens. At that time, people, I really felt like an inconvenience because I really felt bad for obstructing the view and causing an inconvenience to these senior citizens. I'm ending up obstructing their viewing experience just because of my desire to attend a pro wrestling event. Coupled with the fact that my disability, this is what I felt, my disability is becoming a big inconvenience to others and they're just tolerating it. I remember I kept apologizing again and again. And no, they did not swear at me or anything, but none of them said that it's okay, don't worry about it. They just, expressed that I was indeed causing an inconvenience to them and I should probably go somewhere else. It actually got to a point where at one point I really just wanted to leave because, like, I felt that I'm surrounded by people who are, having a lot of negative type of perceptions about me just standing there and trying to watch a wrestling event. And believe me, I wanted to leave, but then again, I paid $129 for this, man. I couldn't just leave. And let me remind you, this was the first ever pro wrestling event that I've attended as a fan. And I was standing as close to the ring as possible to make out as much of the action as possible. And what I could see, I will get to that later. And by the way, if you must know, right now my approach is quite different. Right now, I am not too afraid of actually, if it came down to it, taking legal action. And yes, I have done this before and it has gone in my favor. So I kind of know this territory a little bit. But, anyways, some of you may ask, why not just place me opposite the hard camera? Now, apparently, they couldn't do this for legal reasons, I think. It is because if you watch TNA at that time, TNA wrestling at that time, if you notice, like the suicide dives, the tope colitos, the top rope planchas, the moonsaults, right? They usually happen either opposite the hard camera or, like, let's say you're looking at the ring from, from the top with the hard camera at the bottom. Okay, they usually happen at the very top when they used to have a six-sided ring, or they used to do all those dives and table spots and whatnot, okay, on the top left or the bottom left. These three corners, they used to do all those, high flying, high spot moves. Okay. Near the ADA section, very rarely do you see moves being done. So opposite the hard camera, I don't think there were that many seats, and the people could basically move out of the way. So that's why, like, I think for legal reasons, they couldn't put me there, although that's where I wanted to be. And also, it wouldn't matter if I told them that, listen, I have a year and a half of pro wrestling training. I know how to take bumps. Okay, I know how to take moves. And, like, okay, maybe I've never taken a suicide dive, but the concept, I know how it's done and whatnot. So I'm okay. Just put me there. But obviously for legal reasons, I don't think they could do that. And ironically enough, one of the ring crew members that I have seen, basically, like I was standing right against the guardrail. On the opposite side of the guardrail, I saw someone lying down on the floor. Okay, and he used to move around with his hands. I'm like, wait a minute, this person has a limb disability. Like one of his legs, there's something wrong with it. And yes, I mean, I realized this before, but this was another example of, this is an unfortunate fact, but the type of disability that you have really does become a significant factor in several things. However, I would like to applaud TNA for actually hiring that ring crew who has at least like a little bit of a disability. Now, keep in mind, I was standing this whole time as close to the ring as possible. All right. And all I could see was the ring and the wrestlers when they came close to me. In terms of the in ring action, I couldn't see anything. I don't know, maybe it's because of the glaring light or the fact that maybe they were a bit too far away and my eyesight is way too bad. I couldn't see anything. But when it came to the wrestlers, right, when they're coming next to me, I took advantage of that and I actually spoke to one of the wrestlers, at least conveyed a message, so to speak. Okay. This was during the Drew Galloway Bobby Lashley match. I think it was a last man standing match. I told them no DQ. Remember, guys. Okay. Basically, giving them the message that if they want to use weapons or if they want to blade or something, they are perfectly fine to do so without breaking any of the rules of the match. And if you actually watch that match on YouTube or whatever, and watch the part where Bobby Lashley and Drew Galloway come close to me, you can actually hear me say that. Anyways, after I broke my fast, I saw the main event, and after the event, I actually got to take some pictures with some of the wrestlers, as you can see on your screen. Overall, though, I kind of didn't like this experience because it's paying a lot of money just to stand and just stare at the ring where you can't see the action. Okay. And occasionally watch the wrestlers as they pass you by during their matches. And I also realized Bobby Lashley is not that tall. The ring and the camera work and his attire, I guess, from time to time makes him look a lot more taller than he actually is. Anyways, after that, I decided not to attend any more wrestling shows as a fan. Now, moving on to a cricket match. Now, this was many years ago, so I don't remember as much. And even back then and right now, I am a huge Bangladesh cricket team supporter. I used to live in UAE at that point, and Bangladesh hardly ever got invited to the UAE. So, when an event called the Port City Cricket League came to Sharjah, I decided that I have to attend. Once again, I got the most expensive ticket available just for the purpose of sitting as close to the action as possible. Unfortunately, that was not to be. This time, my brother, my cousin brother, and my friend, and a few of my brother's friends, and my cousin brother's friends, we all went as a group. Also, at that point, as I have lived in the UAE for pretty much all my life, travel was not that much of an issue, especially in a country like UAE, where geographically it's not that big. Now, this section, another reason why it's going to be much shorter is because the experience was much worse. You see, people on TV, the camera and the production team and whatnot gives off this illusion that so many people are attending these events and having so much fun, and it is so much more engaging and entertaining and so much more better if you actually paid a ticket and attended the event compared to if you sat at home and watched the match. Trust me, I could not see the action. I could not see anyone on the field. I could not see what was going on. I constantly had to ask my cousin brother every 30 seconds, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And if you must know, there's one point where Tamim Iqbal actually hit four sixes in a row, and they all landed on the roof under which I was standing. Okay. I constantly kept asking, what's happening? What's happening? My brother just said, Tamim Iqbal hit a six. I realized, people, this is worse than watching the match at home. Okay. At least at home, I could somewhat follow based on the camera work and the commentary, the action that was going on. Over there, I was just standing and staring at a big green oval under floodlights. So what I did is I pretended to basically know what's going on. And when the fans cheered, I just cheered along with them. And sadly, especially in that part of the world, and sometimes even here in the United States, right? A lot of disabled people will have to pretend and act like they don't have a disability just so that they can fit in more easily. So, what ended up happening? I just was standing there pretending not to have a disability and waiting for the event to end so that I can put a stop to the charade. I'm like, you know what? Enough of this. I can't wait till this is over and I'm going home and I'm at home and I don't have to pretend as if I don't have a disability. And as a result of this experience, even though when Bangladesh came to Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and beat West Indies in a T20 match, I did not attend that event. And finally, moving on to live concerts. This one might be a bit more positive. This is when I was studying at the University of Leeds. There were two people who I wanted to see. One was a rapper called Chitty Bang. I have no idea what happened to him after that. The other, he came alongside KRS-One. He was a freestyle rapper called Supernatural. And this is back when I used to make rap music. Now, these events, I enjoyed them a lot more. They were actually playing and performing songs that I recognized and I liked. So I could actually sing along and participate without faking anything. And yes, being there, singing along with them and whatnot, all of that participation, all of the energy, yes, people, that is an experience that you cannot have from home. But for me, it is relative. Like, it's basically having an experience where you can genuinely enjoy versus having an experience where basically you are faking it and you are waiting until you go home and have all that buyer's remorse of the ticket that you just purchased. And yes, I was right adjacent to the stage. Okay. And yes, when the opportunities came along, I did get to take part, did get to participate and whatnot. Right. In fact, one of the experiences, Chitty Bang was asking for freestyle rap topics, right? And I was surprised when I mentioned Neanderthal man. He had no idea what Neanderthal meant. I'm like, you know what? Just rap about superheroes. Other than that, there's not that much I remember. I remember overall the experience being very positive. Okay, like, the walk-in process was not that hectic. The Leeds University Student Union building is very compact, so it's not that easy to get lost. It's very easy to find your way as long as you know where certain landmarks are. Okay, the exits and whatnot, they are marked very well and whatnot. So, like, even like, the ticket check-in process, that was actually very smooth as well. I don't remember any bad experiences there. And I was at Leeds Uni a very long time ago. And believe me, from time to time, I really miss the UK. In fact, if I could get like a 2-week paid vacation or whatnot, if I could go somewhere one of the destinations would be Manchester and Leeds. But given the UK's downward spiral at the moment, and the fact that the people in power cannot put their egos aside to fix this problem, I feel if I go to the UK, me, my money, and my presence will not be welcome there anymore. So that is it for these couple of videos. Once again, a huge thank you to writer Z.M. Thomas for inspiring me to make these videos through his tweets and what I learned from those tweets that he made. Okay. And I hope everyone or anyone who's disabled or not found this video to be informative, and if you are in positions of influence, can actually make some changes to actually make the experience for visually impaired people trying to attend some events more welcoming, more accommodating, and less isolating.